Peace, my friend. I know it's been a while since I've been on a live by myself, and this may be your first time ever seeing me live. If you're new to my channel, to my audience, I welcome you. If you're a veteran, if you've been here for a while, what's up? Today, I'm going to share with you a very special story. It's my origin story. It's how I came to be who I am in this space of helping other people with their health. I'm going to share with you one, why I got started with making my own health a priority. But I also want to share with you why I've made it my mission to help other people with their health. And as we get into the story, I hope you'll see that I'm here to help. I want to prevent other people from feeling what I felt when I had to go through certain stages of life. And I'm kind of hinting to it a little bit, but I want to keep it cool and not have it come out before. I'm going to take a quick break of looking at you directly to check these new devices. I am attempting to a new technique of going live across multiple platforms at one time, and I want to see if it's actually working. So I'm going to stop looking at you for just a moment as I look to see if Instagram Live is actually working. Looks like Instagram Live may be working over here. Let's see if Facebook Live is working correctly. Facebook seems to be lagging behind, but let's get there. We'll get there. We'll see what's happening. So I still don't see me showing up on my other device as being on Instagram yet. Let me switch over. Let me just switch to a different profile. Okay, boom. Okay, so that's how it shows up on Instagram. I thought it was going to show up differently, but that's okay. Peace to you. Peace to you. I see y'all rolling in the room. I had to pull the comments up here. Let's see. It looks like my YouTube or Facebook is the only one that's not working correctly. Let me hop on YouTube real quick. Let's see if that one's popping like it needs to be. And it's showing that I'm live there. Boom. And that's got to have an even less delay. So now we're going to get out of there. All right. Now I know everything is working like it needs to. Let's actually dive into today's topic. And next time when you see me, it won't be so sporadic, or I shouldn't say so all over the place. So my fitness and health journey started way back when, 25 years ago, actually, when I graduated high school. 1999 was the year. For my folks over there on Facebook land, you know what it is, UCD 99. But when I graduated high school, I weighed 118 pounds. I'm 5'9". So I was skinny. I was skinny. And when I graduated, I was determined to no longer be made fun of because of how skinny I was. The running and recurring joke was I didn't even weigh 100 pounds soaking wet with Timberlands on. And you know how heavy Timberlands are. So that just goes to show how much respect people had for me and my weight. So I spent a couple of years really diving into nutrition and working out to figure out how to build the body that I wanted. It took trial and error. It took a whole lot of eating, some 2-a-day workouts, hours in the gym, but I finally figured it out. By the time I turned 25, I weighed 145 pounds, and I was maintaining that between 140, 145 pretty easily. And I say easily, that was me eating at the time. I went vegetarian. So let me backtrack a little bit. When I graduated high school, I came into a sense of myself as a melanated man. and wanted to get rid of a lot of the habits that I saw had been given to me by colonialization. And the biggest habit given to me by colonialization in my mind was the diet that I had, the way that I was eating. From St. Louis, Missouri, my friend, I grew up eating barbecue, um, Chinese fried rice, tripe sandwiches, egg foo young and gravy, Emo's pizza, White Castles, Jack in the Box, like McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, name it, I ate it. So I know what it feels like to be on that side of the spectrum. I decided to make the change because I read a book called From Niggas to Gods. And it was talking about how you won't be able to elevate your mind and take hold of who you are if you're still holding on to the old slave mentality and slave foods that come with that mentality. And that was a wake up for me. At the same time, I was finding Rastafari and the Rastafarian movement, and they talk about ital eating. So the two of those things made sense for me to give up and switch over to a vegetarian diet. So that was the first step in me making a change for my health, was switching over to that vegetarian diet. Now, you couple that with me seeing my mom struggle with diabetes, watching her have two heart attacks, watching my dad deal with diabetes, overweight, gout, high blood pressure, the list of things, and it only made sense for me to make changes in my eating habits because I didn't want to end up like them. I was not at risk of being overweight no matter how much I ate. That wasn't going to be my problem. But just because a person isn't overweight doesn't mean that they aren't susceptible to chronic diseases like high blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes. So that was the second reason why I made that change. Now, fast forward, I'm about 25 and I'm enjoying myself, even though I'm eating way too much because I'm always bloated, have irritable bowel syndrome, always gaseous. And that's because I was eating a lot of whey protein, a lot of chicken to help maintain the gains that I was getting in the gym. And this goes on for another 15 years. I'm pretty happy with my body, with my health. Now, I'm as happy as I can be. I don't realize that the poor sleep that I have is attributed to my eating habits. At the time, I knew that the way I was eating was cause for my stomach pain, but I didn't know what else to do. How else was I supposed to maintain the gains that I had if I wasn't eating the ridiculous amount of calories that I was eating per day and drinking the weight gainer shakes to help maintain my calories? Because to eat that much food was a lot for me because I'm a small dude. So I do this and I'm able to maintain this up until I start having my children. Well, before I start having my children, something pretty drastic happens. Um, in 2013, my mother passed away to her second round of cancer. She originally beat ovarian cancer, not ovarian, uterine cancer. I think I'm with ovarian or uterine cancer. Either way, reproductive cancer. She beat that, came out fighting. Um, that first bout of cancer was real difficult for me because she was going through that fight while I was 1,300 miles away. I had already moved to South Florida. I had left St. Louis to come to South Florida to restart my life, to retry to re-grasp and remold myself. And so while I was in my final year of college, I went back to school 10 years after having graduated high school, just to give you some context. My final year in college, my mom was fighting for her life. And it hurt not to be there to support and comfort her through that. I had to rely on my older brother and sister who were still in St. Louis. So I carried some guilt with that. because I wanted to be there to support her. I wasn't there as she was going through chemo, as she was losing her hair, as she was going through the different phases and stages of fighting that battle. Now, I mentioned to you before this cancer, I watched my mom fight with diabetes, having to prick her finger every morning and figure out which finger she was going to use because it was sore. Watching her have to go through physical therapy and regain herself after the first two strokes she had. So all of these things are playing in my mind. And in 2013, the cancer came out of remission, but this time it came back with a fury. And it came back in her lungs and in her brain. And within 2 weeks of this new diagnosis, I was back home watching over my mom for her last days. Having gone through burying my mom because she passed one day before her 63rd birthday was painful. I can say it is one of the most painful things I've ever had to endure. Only shadowed by the separation that I've been experiencing from my children. Having to bury someone well before their time, before you've had the opportunity to ask questions that you've always wanted to ask, to get family history that only they hold. I'm not finding the right word to describe it right now. So fast forward to 2014, my very first son is born. I look at my now ex-wife and we have the conversation while she's pregnant that we really need to make changes. Because not only did my mom pass of cancer, she had high blood pressure, diabetes. My dad had high blood pressure, diabetes, gout. Her family had a history of health issues. And we both wanted to remove the possibility of passing those health issues on to our child or leaving too soon and not getting a chance to see him grow up. So she had the idea to go vegan. I had heard the term, but I thought that was for crazy white folks, to be honest with you. Because at the time, there wasn't a lot of representation of melanated people living that plant-based lifestyle. However, among doing more research, I noticed that this plant-based lifestyle was more in line with the ITIL lifestyle of Rastafarianism. And so it made sense. But because I am resistant to change, I was reluctant to make that change. I didn't want to give up fish. I had gotten real accustomed to eating fried red snapper. I'm down here in South Florida with a huge Caribbean population. And between fried red snapper and snapper escovitch, I really wasn't ready to give it up. But she held a trump card. She was a stay-at-home mom and she handled all the cooking. So she said, either you can eat what I cook or you can make your own meals. And since I don't like cooking, that was a very easy decision to make. We went vegan. So for 5 years, I lived this new lifestyle and I had it on easy street. I only had to figure out how to make breakfast foods because that's what I was responsible for on the weekends. A couple of other things, but for the most part, she handled the cooking. I didn't really have to learn that. Now, I was learning about the nutrition side of things because that's always piqued my interest, knowing what goes into the food because I'm a science nerd. So having that understanding, although I wasn't cooking, I was doing the research and the reading on why we were eating the new foods that we were eating, using the herbs that we were using to help cleanse and detoxify our bodies. Well, during that time of me making this transition, living this new life, feeling better, mind you, within a few weeks, of making the transition to vegan. I got rid of the irritable bowel syndrome that I had been dealing with, got rid of the bloating, got rid of the headaches, and got rid of the insomnia. I was sleeping better. My energy was crazy too. Like, never had a problem in the bedroom, but now she was like, all right, time out, break. This got to stop. So life was good for the most part. I was working in corporate sales, I was working in education sales, and a coworker of mine had been looking and always having conversations about how I ate, how I maintained my fitness and working out. Because at the time, because I worked as often as I did, I was also a real estate agent and I'd run home to be with my family. I didn't go to the gym. I incorporated at home body weight workouts. That was my way of staying on top of things. He asked for help. My friend was 6'2", over 300 pounds, and he had had a new baby daughter. Well, now this daughter is 2 months, 3 months, and she's starting to crawl around and starting to move around more. But he found a problem with that. Because of his size and weight, he couldn't get down in the floor to play with her like he wanted to. When it was time to get up, he'd be in pain, or limbs would be numb, or he'd have to crawl around and use any and everything to help him try to get up. And that was discouraging for him. He felt like he wasn't going to be able to be the best father he could be if he continued to live that way. Because one, he didn't have the energy, and two, he didn't have the mobility. So he asked for help. I created a meal plan and a workout program for him that after he followed, within 3 months, he lost 25 pounds. He came back to work. Because I had been seeing the progress, but once he finally reached his goal and he told me how happy he was, how energetic he was, how it made him feel as a man and as a father, the light bulb went off for me. This is what I was supposed to be doing. Caveat, I was not happy with my job. I literally was miserable, and I was only showing up because I was the only source of income for my family. So within 2 weeks of him getting those results, I quit my job and I started coaching. My mission for coaching, the reason why I coached him and I made it my purpose, was children need their parents no matter what age they are. I was able to give back a 3-month-old her father, or at this time she was 6 months. I was able to give a 6-month-old back her father. I gave him more time with his wife and family, because now his risk for diabetes, his risk for high blood pressure, and his risk for high cholesterol all dropped. And each one of those puts Black men and women at a higher mortality risk. We have higher rates of high blood pressure, higher rates of diabetes, higher rates of cancer, higher rates of every chronic disease you can think of. And when we get it, we die at a higher rate. I know what it felt like to bury my mom before it was too soon. So now I'm on a mission to help other people avoid the pain, the agony that it feels when you have to bury a loved one too soon. I decided to be the person in my family to stop passing on bad eating habits, because I'm going to give you a pass. It's not your fault that you are where you are. Your parents didn't know what you can learn about nutrition and fitness. It's not your fault. You were not taught how to take care of your body. It's not your fault. However, it will be your fault if your children don't learn how to take care of their body through food and nutrition, through nutrition and fitness. Because now you will become their scapegoat on why they weren't able to be healthier. And it has to stop somewhere. Everyone talks about generational wealth, but what about generational health? We cannot pass on generational wealth if we keep dying too early. Most people don't hit their stride as far as wealth goes until they're in their 50s and 60s. I don't have any, my parents are gone. My mom passed at 63. My dad passed at 74. Yeah, it's hard to say. Like 2 years ago, my dad passed. But that's not why. Like, so I'm here teaching what I teach because I know what it feels like to lose people that you care about. I just mentioned that my father passed 2 summers ago to heart failure. Two felt it feels like 2 weeks, but I think it was maybe a month or two later. I find out that one of my best friends, a brother of mine, at 49 years old, has died of a heart attack. I'm doing my best to compose myself because I'm still managing both of those losses. My brother Laverle is still supposed to be here right now. This man has children that are barely in their 30s. He has grandchildren that have to grow up without Pawpaw. And I know what that feels like because both of my grandfathers on both of my mom and my dad's side died before I was born. So that's why I'm so passionate about this health and fitness thing. Because I know what it feels. I know the generational impact poor health has. I didn't grow up with a grandfather because both of them passed way too soon. I know people growing up, my children are growing up without a grandmother. That's why I show up and do what I do. So, not here to convince you to do anything other than take a deep, hard look at your habits and your actions and see if they're not just affecting you, but if they're going to affect the next generation. Because you don't know how to eat right and move right because you weren't taught by your parents. Well, your children have the same excuse. If you don't want them to have the same excuse, it's up to you to take the responsibility for yourself to learn about nutrition, to learn about fitness, and what you can do to incorporate these into your life. I did leave out mindset, which is even just as big as the other two. If you need help making shifts in these, I'm here. Send me a DM and let's start a conversation. Move your way, eat your way, and think your way to better health. Peace.